Welcome back to Real Phonies, where we take a love for movies and television and combine it with very little knowledge about movies and television. I'm your host, Christian. Join with me, my co-host, Ian.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Joseph.
Yellow.
Jehu. Here to talk about the final film in the Skywalker saga, Star Wars, Rise of the Skywalker. Allegedly. That's a good answer. I'm sure we have lots of thoughts and feelings, but I think beforehand, Jehu, you had a prediction of what people thought. Do you want to go with there? And
of what you guys thought?
Yeah, I'm
here's
interested
my
in
prediction. Here's my prediction of people who aren't me. I'm going to say Ian liked it, Christian did not like it, and Nips is like, it was okay.
All right.
We'll see if that's true.
Yeah. I would say for me that's pretty close. Yeah.
Well, I would say let's a quick recap of the movie is we continue on the journey with Rey, Finn, Poe, Kylo Ren.
Yes.
It's almost impossible to talk about any aspect of this that isn't spoilered.
No.
So I say we start
Yeah.
light spoilers and then move into heavy spoilers.
Yeah.
Because also I saw this on Friday night and I had already had. And I was completely off the internet and already had multiple things spoiled. For me.
Let's talk about what we didn't spoil, just based on like the trailer. The only things that
we know Palpatine's back.
We know Palpatine's back.
Yep.
It's kind of just inferred from the trailer anyway that he is the big baddie of the series, and that presumptively all the group now that Finn and Rey and Poe are all together are all going to go and stop the Emperor from doing something.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know what.
Yeah.
So what did we think? General impressions, no specifics.
Yeah, so we were talking about it, and I watched it twice. So I watched it right when it came out. I watched it early, which is like Tuesday night, and then I watched it again with you Wednesday. Mm-hmm. So it was I came out loving it, and then the thing is with the first screening of a new Star Wars fan, you're just I'm such a nerd. I get overwhelmed with excitement. So I was gonna love it the first time, but then the second time I watch it, a few cracks shown, but I love it. I do. That my general impression is it's a little better than Force Awakens, which I really liked.
Wow.
And it's
really?
And it's the best of the three for me.
Wow.
Are there problems? Yes. Does it make a ton of sense when you think about certain specifics? No. But you know what? It's Star Wars. Is there a few clunky lines? Yeah, but I feel like they all have that. You know what I mean? Like, are there things I can nitpick? And I will bring it up as we're going.
And we will.
Yes, but generally, like, it just... Whereas Last Jedi, my big criticism is it's just so negative, and it doesn't feel Star Wars. This felt Star Wars. So yeah, I came out of it. I like it made our podcast look good. Like episode 3, we talked about Love and Me and You heard that lightsaber scene. The Rey and Kylo lightsaber fight on the Death Star in the water was an homage to that, I thought. Yeah. It was like a straight fight on instead of lava, it's water. But I don't want to go into too big of spoilers, but I watched it with you, Jones. What did you think?
I was pretty disappointed by it. I'm not going to say I was. I'm not going to say you were pretty close. I'm not going to say I was mad. I'm not mad about it.
Yeah.
And you know what? If people love it, I want them to love it. I'm not going to try. One of the biggest issues I feel so defensive about Last Jedi is people. If you say you like Last Jedi, people have to tell you you're a fucking idiot and you're not a fan of Star Wars. I'm not going to do that with people who like.
You can tell this movie was made from a place of needing to please those people and getting them back on board.
Right.
Well,
you say that you don't want to trash it because you want to let people like. Because one of the reasons I was like, I'm getting off the fucking internet wasn't even just because of spoilers. It's because everything, like days before it was out to the public, all the tweets and reviews were all more relitigating The Last Jedi.
For sure.
Correct.
Even talking about this fucking movie.
Yep.
And I just didn't want to do that, man. I wanted to enjoy this movie or not enjoy this movie.
I mean, to be fair, we'll get into it, but it's kind of hard to talk about this movie without relitigating.
Yes.
That was the next thing I was going to say. And this, from the crawl, it's basically like he was basically like, okay, Rian Johnson didn't leave me anything to jump off of. So just in the crawl, I'm going to lay out what I wish he would have left me to jump off with.
Yep.
I feel my big complaint, and I'll go with more spoilers, is not so much anything within the movie itself; it's the connotations the movie has for the saga as a whole.
I can see that, and we'll talk about that.
That's more of where I come from.
Does it retroactively make the other ones worse a little bit? Because the changes it makes, I think it invalidates almost Anakin's whole arc.
We'll go with there because I want to talk about that. But yeah, I mean, it's my least favorite of the three, the new ones. And if I could say one thing, I would say I don't think JJ either ever watched the prequels or he just legitimately does not like the prequels. So yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, better or worse than Transformers.
I mean, it's better than Transformers. I'm not going to... Anytime I can sit in a theater and watch Star Wars, it's a better experience than Transformers.
I feel like I'm somewhere in between those two, which is what you expected. Because in general, look, I'm not... JJ can't help himself. He's heavy on the fan service. It's just... Yeah. He needs that.
He doesn't know a thing about allegory. No. It's literal.
There's one fan service thing that I already want to time travel to the end and talk about. But let's go.
That part of his style is not my favorite thing. In general, the character is what's important to me, and I feel like the character arcs for the main two, which is Rey and Kylo, went in the direction that I wanted it to go. I feel like there was a satisfying conclusion to what was set up in the first one.
Right.
But the mechanics of it are just fucking bonkers. Nothing in this movie makes a goddamn lick of sense.
No. Let's just run to the next place. That's what this movie is.
And it's just one of those things where, like, I just can't imagine. Like, I don't know if it was like there was a full inherited script from Colin Trevorrow. I don't know, like, what happened to this to make it so just logically nonsensical. I understand it's fucking Star Wars. I get it, it's space wizards, in the past with laser swords. But, like, even within that context... Like there's just no consistency as far as the mechanics of the plot.
What I thought on that note when watching the film was JJ regrets not doing all three.
Yes,
and it's not so much that he wanted to do 2 and 3. He tried to remake all 3 of these movies in 2.5 hours.
100%.
Because the first hour of this movie is like a retcon version of Force Awakens.
Yeah.
That's what we talk about the cluckiness was like, well, I didn't really like the choices I made with the 7. I didn't get to do 8, so I'm just going to do 7, 8, and 9 in 2 hours and 21 minutes.
Yeah, so I'm in a weird spot where I feel like on a mechanical level, I think that Last Jedi is a better movie. Mm-hmm. I think it makes more sense within its own universe. I feel like they set up things and they finish things and like there's logic. I don't like it, but like it's a mechanically more sound movie. This movie I enjoyed more because I think that it was what I wanted from the story, is what I wanted from these characters, but the actual like getting there
didn't make
no sense.
I think it almost makes it to where you've got to talk about these movies in when you rank them in 2 different ways. How much you like it as a standalone unit and how much you like it as part of the saga.
There's just no way to do that. There's no way to
it's hard to separate.
Yeah. Because, Last Jedi, I think is a really good movie on its own.
Yeah.
But it doesn't try to be a part of the saga at all.
Mm-hmm.
Here's... did I...
Yeah, no, you're good. Transition.
Here's where I am. I had a lot of fun in it. I liked it a whole lot. But I also recognize a lot of it is messy, but I think it was in a tough spot going in. It's the last part in a trilogy where the second part, while with good movie, did not try to continue the trilogy.
No.
And it would have been hard to make a standalone movie because it's the third part of a saga, but it's hard to make it a satisfying conclusion to the other 2 movies because those 2 movies don't have a lot to do with anything. So definitely what he just decided to do was like, well, I'm just going to set up shit I wish would have been set up for me. Yeah. Which definitely makes the beginning of it seem like we just started in the middle of some shit. What's going on? But overall, I thought it was a fun fucking movie. I like everybody in it. I like how it ended. And I would totally watch it again.
It's fun. It's a fun movie.
I think as part of as part of the ongoing story, I like it more than The Last Jedi. I think as a stand on its own movie, it doesn't really stand on its own.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm going to put it in one of my categories of movies that might be better on mute.
It's visually pleasing.
I don't know, because I liked a lot of the... a lot of the bad jokes.
I'm not anything against the writing or the jokes, but in the sense that, like, you see some, like, visually, it's fine, and, like, you can kind of, establish, like, what's happening as far as, like, who's winning and who's losing at any given point, but, like, actually explaining what's happening then just, I think, takes away from it.
Right.
That's why I feel like it's better on mute.
I think the, like, kind of what we're talking about, a lot of the problems we're talking about is in the first half of the film. When they get, and it's not a spoil,
Completely disagree.
I think when they get to the Death Star, which I don't think is a spoiler, we've seen in the trailers and stuff like that, I think then there's kind of a cohesive trail of things to follow, and everything kind of makes sense. Now, I have some pretty major problems with that back half, but I think the story kind of settles down a little bit. this is where we're going. But that first half, man, it's just
it's
balls
very
to
jumpy.
the
You're
wall.
going to a lot of different planets.
Right.
You're moving around a lot.
Well,
It's exposition heavy in the first
Well,
hour.
let's jump into spoilers then. If you haven't seen this movie, I mean, go see it. It's fucking Star Wars.
Yeah.
But
Right,
As
but
far
don't
as
listen for...
As far as the performances, though, I thought this was Adam Driver's least. This is
Agreed.
this is a very Ray movie. This is
Agreed.
Daisy Ridley's
Yeah.
strongest movie. It's Adam Driver's least strongest.
I just don't
movie
think he's
I've
given
seen.
as much
The
to
parts
do
of
in
his
this one.
performance, though, I can't talk about that I really like. I can't argue this point till we get
Yeah.
Let's get into spoilers, and we can get back right on that.
Yeah,
So, spoilers from here on out.
Well, first spoiler, I think, has got to be the major spoiler.
Yeah.
The Emperor fucks.
Yeah,
We now know that the Emperor has sex. He's put his space penis in a space vagina and made children.
I mean, it could be like a failed clone
thing.
like
Even
Boba.
though he makes kids with his mind, the implication here, I feel like, is he made this one with his loins.
Yeah, see that
Yeah.
and that could have been something I feel like could have been answered a little
Right.
bit, because there are, especially with the Emperor, we already have a precedent basically of two children being born two different ways,
Right.
Which are Anakin. We don't know if Palpatine made him, but that's always heavily rumored.
It really feels implicated that he did.
The other is that he initiates the clone army, so we know Boba and Jango, you
Right.
know, where that comes about. So he's had his hands on reproduction in funky ways.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why he switches then. He's like, okay, I've tried everything else. I guess I'm just going to have to whip it out.
I was just, unrelated to like the actual plot mechanics of it. I was thinking just during Ian McDermott's scenes, like, can you imagine that guy having sex? I just can't. I can't imagine that guy doing like dirty talk.
Did you guys like that she was a Palpatine?
I mean, look. Again, it was one of those things where if it had been JJ's movie all the way through,
Yeah.
I think it's okay. But at this point, and especially after The Last Jedi, it feels like fan service just because.
I liked it, but it's kind of like it's like a painting. From far away, it looks really good, and then you get up close and you really start looking at the specifics of how they got there, and does
For
it
sure.
make sense? It's like crack form, but I liked it. I thought it was fun.
I feel like there was always three options, and it was always one of the options, and I'm fine with they picked that option.
I'm a big fan of Rise of Nobody and Last Jedi. I think that's a really good choice because, and I'll go into more of this further, but there's a lot of talk about how Last Jedi is standalone. It doesn't fit within the rest of the saga, and I could not disagree more with that logic. And one of the reasons is because in Empire, Darth Vader being Luke's father isn't a huge twist because you don't know it. It's a huge twist because Luke has no like parental issues and he hates the Empire.
Right.
And one of his first lines in A New Hope when he's talking to Obi-Wan is like, I mean, I'd hate the Empire, but what can I do? Like,
Right.
Darth Vader is the symbol of the Empire.
Right.
That's why it's tough for Luke Skywalker. So it's it's taking the thing he most doesn't want and making it his fact of life. And for Rey, what she most wants is to be somebody.
Right.
It's to have parents. And so I think the twist of Rey being nobody fits right in line with Luke finding out Darth Vader is his father. And so you belittle that twist, like you take away from the family issues, how do I deal with my family history and my lineage by making her, because you're giving the character exactly what she wants.
I actually don't disagree with that. I think that was because, I've said about a few other things. I would like for one of these things to get over the chosen one narrative. I just think that my problem with how the Last Jedi fits into this is doing that and killing Snoke. Because when you do that, you don't leave anywhere to go in the third movie, which is why this had to start with we just gotta reset some shit.
Yeah.
I think the intent, and I would say this both for JJ and for Ryan, both thought people were going to continue the story they wanted to tell.
Right.
I think the story Ryan wanted to tell was, what would a movie with Darth Vader being the villain look like?
Right.
And JJ doesn't want to make a movie where Darth Vader's the villain.
I tell you one thing Ryan did set up and they didn't use, and I'm bummed out, which was see you around Kiddo.
Yeah.
I was really hoping that Luke was going to be a Force ghost attached to Kylo.
Well, that's part of it too. And I don't want to get too much into the ending.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot about Anakin specifically I want
Right.
to talk about and how Anakin relates to Ben that I think the movie doesn't deliver on. But yeah, I don't even remember how we got on this. Right?
I just think that this movie, like, it almost makes Last Jedi not canon. Almost like it completely just turns Last Jedi
Well,
off.
I wanted to like sit
Yeah.
here and enumerate the things that we can think of as far as specific ways that JJ shot the middle finger to
he
Ryan
rebuilds
Johnson.
the mask Kylo. He rebuilds the mask and puts that back on.
I don't even understand the purpose of that because he wears it for maybe 20 minutes.
Toys.
Yeah, but I think it's
he basically wears it until Rey makes fun of it.
It's literally like a poke at Rian Johnson. That even makes it more. You know what I mean?
Maybe. I'm just saying that's a stupid thing to do.
Especially since that was obviously like the best choice I think Rian Johnson made.
Yes.
Yeah, because I loved him like just emoting being evil.
Yeah.
Just the taking away that Rey's nobody.
I think the biggest thing, and I would argue the only real thing that is the big middle finger, is what he does with Rose.
Well, yeah, definitely.
Why do you have a giant slug creature on the Millennium Falcon that easily could have been Rose to you?
Yeah.
And it's if you want to say, people don't like Rose, then make her likable.
Right.
That's what you do. It's lazy filmmaking.
No, it was like I said, it was made from a place scared to piss off the fans, and it's the whole movie. Like Luke literally says, it was a mistake to stay on the island.
Luke believes that by the end of Last Jedi, though. That's not.
But that line is a jab at Last Jedi.
Here,
I don't think it is.
Yeah. I think definitely Rose should have been on that first mission. I can see when the main three go off together, they would go without her because in Jedi the main three go off together and Lando separately. But she should have totally been part of that first mission, like Lando was a part of the Jabba mission.
Yep. I think that's the only one. Because I do think there's some launching ground that Rian makes that JJ does follow through with that he never intended, which is if you go back and watch Force Awakens, I think JJ always wanted Rey to be Luke's daughter. He is so literal in his interpretation. Right. He imagined that you see Rey's parents flying away. Coincidentally, Luke Skywalker flew away and we don't know where he is. I think he always imagined...
I'm 100%, if not necessarily directly her daughter, his descendant,
correct,
maybe granddaughter or something like that.
The reason why I say, and The Last Jedi does this really great thing. Last Jedi is the only Disney, the only one, not just of this trilogy, the only movie Disney has made that recognizes you, the audience member, has seen the prequels.
Right.
Which it does this thing where people talk about how clunky the prequels are, how the Jedi don't make any sense, and it makes that canon. There's a scene with Rey and Luke where he's like, the Jedi were idiots, and that they created Darth Sidious, and they created their own downfall. Right. And because of that, and this is why I say there's huge connotations for Anakin in this film, is Star Wars, a lot of people view it as cyclical storytelling told over multiple generations. That's not how I interpret it. I interpret it as Anakin Skywalker's story.
Right.
And that the prequels are his fall, and the originals are his redemption, and so the sequel trilogy should have been the completion, which is
it should have been his legacy.
Correct. Yeah. Him getting the ending he never got, which is that Ben and Rey should be together. He should have his Padme. I think Rian recognized, whereas JJ viewed them as Luke and Leia, Rian recognized them as Anakin and Padme.
Right.
And I think JJ fell through with that, but I don't think he quite understood what that means.
Yeah.
Which is why I think it affects Anakin's legacy.
I do agree with you that I think my theory had always been that Luke was his granddaughter and whoever was
Rey
was his granddaughter and whoever was the parent died in the Kylo Ren. So that's what would have happened there. But yeah, obviously we'll never know because they chose this round robin type.
Yeah, for sure.
I will say I like that they all went off on an adventure together. I had said that on the podcast for it, and they did that. Now,
and they have good chemistry, the three.
See, and the thing is, like, they finally felt like a team. Right. But I hate that all the bonding happened between Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker off screen.
Right.
Because, like, in the first two movies, they don't hang out at all. Right. And that is a mistake. But this one, they felt like the band on the Millennium Falcon, and, like, I felt that. And, and it makes, it's definitely Poe's best movie. They aged him up a little bit. You could tell they put, like, old makeup, a little gray in his hair. Like, Oscar Isaac's looking old in there. But I think he's supposed to be this commander learning in Last Jedi, and I think that's come to fruition. He does a better job leading in this one.
I feel like he makes the exact same mistake in this movie that he makes in Last Jedi.
What do you mean?
That he's ill-prepared and doesn't actually have direction or understanding.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Lando Calrissian, they would have lost.
But I do think, like I said, I think he's more likable in this one. I don't think he's likable in the second.
I agree. He's not.
I've never been a huge fan of his.
Me neither.
And I think in this, he's maybe the most likable of the three of them in this. Definitely, they give him he's the one that the humor lands with
for sure.
Of the three of them.
Yeah. Joseph, you're being pretty quiet over
Well,
here.
I meant to. Well, yeah, I actually wanted to hear from you about how you felt about Poe being even more spotlighted in this one than he's been in the previous two, since you're not a big Poe fan.
I think, thank goodness, Ryan gave Finn and Poe a character arc because they have none in this movie.
Yeah,
they have reached their destination at the beginning of it, and they continue that all the way through the end.
I mean, to me, Poe's arc is getting a girlfriend.
Correct. I didn't mind it. I don't think Poe is a character that deserves
as much
of a role.
I agree.
Yeah.
And
I think he should have been a bit player, and that's it.
So
I think he should have been. There should be 3 good guy leads. I just don't think they ever did.
They never landed him.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the problems with this whole series, and this is an issue I have with this movie as well, is JJ's just afraid of things. He should have killed Poe in Force Awakens like he intended.
Follow
what
on to that question.
What he does with Chewie.
Yeah.
Should he have killed Chewie?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
See, I don't agree because Chewie sells a lot of toys. But
100%.
So he took it away from me, and I did believe it in that moment. So I felt that feeling. And then he gave it back to me and made it feel good.
So now when you watch it again, you don't have that feeling anymore.
Chewie's one of those things I just don't think you can really fuck with.
But he does it twice. He does it to Chewie and 3PO. Both times
3PO he should have kept. I agree with that.
See, the thing is with 3PO, though, this is the best 3PO movie if you want to like
I also
3PO.
wanted to ask you, Christian, about the 3PO, because 3PO gets all the best lines and jokes in this movie.
I like 3PO in this movie.
I think
I liked it better when he got his memory wiped. I thought that was an emotional moment, and then they continue to play it well. If I have one major complaint, and I've said it on the podcast before, I said it when we were in the theater, his first words should be Master Annie. That should be
That's true. That's true.
JJ doesn't like the prequel.
Right.
So
you know what? I think you are right about that.
Yeah.
And whether you like them or not, they're there.
Yeah, correct.
Well, my big question I want to ask you is, while we're jumping around a bit, is Finn.
Yeah.
What do you think he was trying to tell Rey?
He's force sensitive.
Yeah,
That's
that-
what
they've
that's what I was going to ask. Do you think he's force sensitive?
I think
Because
he
there
is.
are clues in this
No, he's
movie.
definitely force sensitive.
Okay.
I see. Look, to me, the chemistry was always better between Finn and Rey, and we'll get into that deeper down the line. I think so. The force sensitive thing I think is fine, but I also thought it was going to be like, I love you.
That's
kind
what
of
I thought it was.
Yeah.
But then I read stuff, and everyone seems to think that it's.
Yeah.
I wonder why he didn't answer it, because it's weird.
They
to
never
put it
tell
up in
you.
there and
Yeah, it's such a weird thing to seed in there and never come back to.
I mean, when I thought he put it up in the air to make you think it's an "I love you" and not, and what it was actually going to be is "I'm one of you too. I can feel the force as well."
Yeah.
And then he didn't either.
I think there's a lot of cuts to this movie out there.
Oh, that's probably true.
I think they cut this movie a lot of times because they wanted to find the most pleasing one. I bet you there's versions where he says probably both things.
But the Finn thing is kind of coming back to what I was talking about as far as like JJ's direct disses. I feel like to the Rian Johnson universe is he like makes an acknowledgement of this like democratization of the Force. It's not just based on bloodlines, but does nothing with it. There's absolutely
That's
no
true.
development.
But
That's
also
true.
Ryan Johnson's whole point that he needed to democratize it was bullshit anyway. It was never a bloodline.
No, for sure. But you know that's kind of what they've made these movies.
Like there was one guy who it was a bloodline thing for. That's it.
Yeah, but apparently that's not true because our hero of this movie had to be somebody more than who we thought it was.
And so, that note, the Snoke cloned that Snoke was just a prop from Palpatine. It was, I feel like
I don't think
love
that's
that opening scene.
I don't think that's a middle finger. I think that's a perfect continuation.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that's a plus for Last Jedi.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
So did you guys know that planet's supposed to be Mustafar?
I did not know, but I did read that.
It
makes sense.
This is what pisses me off. If you're gonna include it, say it and make it recognizable.
Make it that fucking base.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So that was.
Could you imagine Kylo?
Mustafar.
Where the Emperor's hung up?
No, where
no.
he goes to find the thing.
Oh, by the way, can we just go ahead and say,
Which should have been the
A
last scene in Last Jedi.
Yeah.
call it a fucking holocron?
Right, that's what it is.
Don't make up some
A Sith
term.
Wayfinder?
Dude, there's a
I
lot
love
of
Sith Wayfinder.
There's a lot of Timothy Zahn borrowed shit in this movie.
A lot of MacGuffins.
Could you? Could you imagine Kylo like walking into the fucking black halls under the lava flow and like kind of being in awe of like Darth Vader?
Dude,
person
wearing
had
the
a
same
shine.
fucking hoodie.
And it could have been a shrine. Like
Yeah,
having
you know
his-
what?
Yeah.
I was gonna fight him, but you're right. He hates the prequels.
He hates the
because
prequels.
that would have been great walking through there with that same fucking hoodie on. With that
I
same-
mean, honestly,
That would've been
that
cool.
would have been a good excuse to put the hood back. I mean, to put the helmet back on,
Yeah.
as that scene is like, oh yeah, this guy is my inspiration.
Right.
I've kind of lost my way, but this is bringing me back.
JJ doesn't view this movie or this trilogy at all as a continuation of 9 films.
Yeah.
It's a continuation from A New Hope.
Right. That's true. That's a continuation of the one he likes. Yeah.
That also could be mandated from Disney. I think Disney was fooling around with him a lot.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, everything we're laying on JJ and Rian Johnson
Disney.
about movies that we all like, which is weird anyway, but everything we're laying on stems back to this should have never been round robin storytelling.
No.
We have an overall view of where this starts, where this ends.
They needed a Kevin
Hand
Feige.
it to a director, you get it to
And
the
that's the
next
thing, like,
one.
even if you had different filmmakers, definitely have a through line, have a plot line through all three before
This is
you
where
hand it
this
off.
character needs to
Correct.
be.
Like they feel so disjointed.
Yeah. Before we get in, I want to get through the rest of my other one. So the Snoke clones, you guys just that's fine. I still think it's kind of a bit of a diss. The race parentage, which is also kind of ties into that bloodlines are the only thing that matters.
Yeah.
And I feel like the whole movie is the exact opposite of, the famous line from the Rian Johnson movie, which is, let the past die, kill it if you have to. Apparently the past is all that fucking matters in this movie.
The whole thing was taken care of.
But that's what the villain of the movie says. The fact that people attribute that to be what the purpose of the film is means people don't get the movie. When you're following the bad guy's direction and saying, "Oh, this is what the point of this purpose," that's not what happens. Kylo believes
it is remembered that way. You're right about that. Yeah.
That's the villain talking.
Well, but I mean, also
that's also Rian Johnson talking,
and that's also a lot of people who defend it. They pick that as their defense of it, and it's a bad defense of it because it's the bad guy's point.
Agreed.
Also,
there's too much focus on that line. Is really my point.
That's fair. And you brought up actually a good point. Is I kind of at the end of Last Jedi, they do kind of discredit the whole concept of the Jedi as like, this pinnacle of like the good version of the Force in the universe is like, oh, maybe they weren't maybe the Jedi ways aren't necessarily the best ways. And in this way it comes back. I mean, even at the end of it with the Force ghost Luke telling her the only way to defeat the Sith is to be the Jedi. I was like, well, hang on. This is kind of against what we talked about in the last movie.
What's even funny to me and what's out of character about that is because again, all the shit that happens with them Insidious, but then the mistakes they make in those prequel movies are the exact same mistakes Yoda and Obi-Wan make in the original trilogy. In freaking Return of the Jedi, Obi-Wan tells Luke he has to kill his father, and Luke says, I can't kill my dad. And Obi-Wan's response is, well, then the Emperor has already won.
Right.
Like, they literally can't see past their own bullshit.
Right.
So, like, having Luke be like, I can't do this anymore makes sense. And so then for Luke to be like, no, they were right all along, even though they told me to kill my dad and I didn't listen.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense.
I mean, really, and I bring up this scene a lot, but my favorite scene in Jedi is when he realizes that they're full of shit.
Yeah.
Like, I can't beat this guy by becoming this guy. So that also is like, how do you even make 3 more movies after that? But I still liked these 3 movies.
Well, that's why. I mean, I don't want to. I don't want to give too much credit to the fans, but the whole concept of the Skywalker being necessarily like the new version of the Jedi with kind of like not necessarily.
It's like a gray.
Yeah, well, not necessarily gray Jedi, but not necessarily ensnared to all like the rituals and the terminology and all this kind of stuff of the Jedi necessarily, but also kind of like this new thing that's representing the good side of the Force, the light in the universe kind of thing, which I think is more interesting.
Yeah,
I hate the word gray Jedi though.
Yeah,
a fanboy loves to say gray Jedi.
That's a guy who loves an anti-hero. Is what gray Jedi is.
The thing is, I think what JJ wanted from this is largely the same thing I wanted from this, is for Luke Skywalker to have made a difference.
Yeah,
but he also had that Luke didn't really make a difference because the Empire survived and stuff.
JJ said in an interview.
Also, Rian Johnson already established that Luke made a difference by inspiring people around the universe.
I mean, made a difference by like his legacy is carried on by specifically someone. So I think
But see, that's why I think the Rian Johnson one is more interesting in that because instead of being like you have one Padawan, he becomes a legend.
Yeah.
And through that legend, through that own mythos, he's like inspiring the morals and aspirations of people everywhere, as opposed to just like 1 or 2 or 3 Padawans.
That scene, by the way, brings me what I think is the strangest thing about both of those movies. Last Jedi feels like an ending. It doesn't feel like you need another movie after this. This feels like, okay, well, let's get on to the rest of this.
For sure,
shit.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Ian? About JJ in an interview?
Oh, JJ said in an interview when he's talking about promoting this movie that his most surprising, subverted thing, and it seemed like an underhanded shot at Last Jedi, was what he did with Luke Skywalker. being on that planet and banishing himself. I think if what you said is JJ did all 3 of these movies, I feel like it would be there's enough here it could have been good.
I mean, I think
I like the characters, and it's just there's no execution.
I feel like there's a gray Jedi path here between Rian Johnson and JJ, because I mean, definitely I appreciate being willing to challenge the expectations, and I definitely think this movie is a crazy amount of fan service, and if you had one more JJ movie, like, I mean, it's just, it would be even more fan service. It'd be just all the things that you think that you want from the series.
I like Last Jedi a lot. I think it's one of the ones I can most just put on and watch by itself. It's a standalone movie, I think. But again, I already said this multiple times, but its course change is why this one was so weird in spot. But in general, all 3 of them together, I like it. I enjoyed it. I
think it's still my least favorite trilogy. So original trilogy, prequel trilogy,
I'm with you.
New trilogy.
We're
new
on the
trilogy
same page
is
here.
The worst. It is the worst.
Yeah.
See,
I wasn't that way before this, but because of it as an ending, it brings the whole 3 down. I would go with that's true.
Yeah.
I'm more like first trilogy, and then the rest of them are just Legos laying on the floor.
That's also fair.
This is an anti-Ian take. These are the 3 most recent things, and they're worse than the less recent things.
Well, on our prequel rewatch, I like them more. I do.
Yeah.
They're just better movies.
One thing that I wanted to talk about that I think that I say a lot that I think Anakin is JJ's least favorite character is because, of course, letting the Emperor live means Anakin didn't fulfill his promise or whatever. The other part of that is there was a big excuse that if the Emperor lived, then Luke would be the one to kill him, and so it would be his lineage, so that Anakin, through the Force, was created, and his lineage is the one. So obviously that's not what happens either. Rey is the one that does it. The other problem is this is the Skywalker saga, and this is the last movie with the last living Skywalker who doesn't speak for the entire last hour of the film. How do you have, in the last movie about Skywalkers, the last living Skywalker not say a word? That's a mind-boggling choice to me. Like, and Ben is his own creation. It's not like it's Rose. He just intentionally doesn't give Ben the opportunity to speak. And then, of course, to kill him. I think we talk about the disconnect between 7 and 8 and 9. I feel like the natural conclusion was for about halfway through this movie, Rey and Ben team up. They're in love. They make out or whatever. They kill the Emperor together. And that's where I felt like it should have gone. And I think that's why I'm mostly disappointed, because it doesn't follow through with that.
I'm going far out on a limb. You have to let me get back to what I'm talking about. But my penchant for watching soap operas on YouTube?
Yes.
I had just, like, the day before, watched my favorite soap opera character's second death scene.
Sounds about right.
And I love it because the whole thing plays out in silence. And I thought that was really cool. So I may have been just really primed for that. But I really liked that the whole end of Kylo, partly because Adam Driver is such a good physical actor, was played out all physical. Because I had no doubt on what his take on things were without any words.
If it had been any actor not of Adam Driver's talent level, it would not have worked.
I agree with you, because there is nothing there. It's more his facial expressions and just his attitude, how he's carrying himself. But there is no lines that emote that that communicate, hey, I'm good now. You know what I mean? At all.
And man, which I know they kind of did this in Last Jedi, but this is a thing I definitely think they land better in this. When Kylo, lights up a lightsaber and it's for the good guys this time, that's my fucking mark out moment.
For sure.
I think
that's a great moment.
Yeah.
Actually, that wasn't the mark out moment. The mark out moment was when Wedge showed up.
Yeah, God.
Because I was mainly like, that guy got fucking paid.
Yeah.
Because they had to back up the money truck to his door.
Man, I physically yelled when I saw Wedge scream.
I wooed, and I was the only person in the theater. I wooed alone.
It was mind-boggling because I just read Rise of the Resistance, which doesn't really do anything. But Wedge is a central character in that, about him returning to the Resistance. And he's not at all in the movie. So I was like, why did I just read this 300-page novel about Wedge?
Now you know.
Good, so he can show up for one scene on the Millennium Falcon.
I really like, switching gears, I really like the Emperor. Like that opening scene with Kylo, him hooked up to the machine like a puppet.
It's a cool aesthetic.
Yeah, it looked good. I mean, it looked really
that
good.
guy's always good as that character, and a chance to see it more. He's always.
But I thought the computer claw thing he was hooked. Like it all looked pretty. Like the CGI was pretty on point.
It's like a cool whole aesthetic.
Yeah,
I am really. What the fuck was the Emperor's plan?
It's a wee bit confusing.
Don't think about it too hard.
part of this thing, like I said, was really lifted from the Timothy Zahn books. There's a thing in the Timothy Zahn book where the Emperor has a hidden fleet of super star destroyers
called dreadnoughts.
Yeah, and
that's where Ryan got it from.
And
I hate
and
dreadnoughts.
they really lifted that from this. You know?
Yeah,
I mean, look, they're again
in the unknown regions, all that stuff.
Right? Yeah.
Who was communicating those? I mean, who was piloting those?
Well, that's what I want to get into that.
So, like, hold on, just a second. That's literally addressed in the Timothy's. Is they don't need they operate as a unit.
Right.
So that is a thing.
Okay, so they don't put that in the movie.
Yeah.
That could have been literally a line that short.
Yeah, I know.
I
Enough
mean, it probably
exposition.
is in the 5-hour cut of
That's
it.
a good point. So, as far as I understand it, right, from watching it, correct me if I'm wrong, the Emperor wanted Rey to come down.
I also have to say one other thing, too.
Sure.
There's a force power, it's like battle management or something like that, where a synth can communicate with his troops all at once. And so him being able to look up and see all the ships is that thing.
Yeah, that's also from the Zahn.
That's also from the Zahn thing.
I mean, it's fine. They just don't establish
I agree.
It makes no sense in the movie.
Yeah. So the whole plan is, one, get Sith down there with that fucking weird-ass Sith gallery that exists, doesn't exist.
Right.
Are they real things? Are they real people in
acolytes,
hoods?
are we talking
about?
Yeah.
Are they acolytes?
See, I thought those were ghosts, like his ghosts.
That's what I wasn't sure about. So apparently all...
I wondered if they were also clones of him. Like, if all of it was...
Also
unclear.
Confusing. It was just a cool-looking cult.
Yeah, that's the thing. JJ is a very visual guy.
For sure. Like, this is storyboards that never got fleshed out.
That's exactly right.
But, like, the plan was have Rey there, tell her she's a Palpatine, and then apparently there's a new...
Well, the first plan is for Kylo to kill her.
Right, okay, that's a good point. Yeah. So for Kylo to kill her, so then he'll just rule... So who's going to rule the universe?
I also want to point out, in the crawl, it talks about a broadcast. The Emperor says that happened in Fortnite. They literally were, at like 3 days ago on Fortnite, during the game, is broken up, and the Emperor...
I mean, that's pretty fun.
Yeah.
That means Fortnite's canon.
Yeah, I guess
Fortnite's canon.
That is very strange.
Yeah, weird choice.
So okay, yeah. Originally to kill Rey and insert Kylo as the new Sith Lord, which surely was not the plan. I guess maybe the Emperor would probably backstab him to take over, whatever. So then Rey's in front of him, and then he's sure that he wants Rey to kill him because there's a magical Sith thing where all the Sith live in whatever living Sith there is, and then gets automatically passed on to someone who kills them out of hatred. So hang on, are all the other Sith also have all the other Sith in them? What level do you become the Sith repository?
I would say this. This guy, he loves fan service, and usually I'm fine with that because I also like being serviced, as I've said many times on
Me
this.
too.
He didn't go for it. When they said that shit, all the Sith should have shown up behind him, and all the Jedi should have and
that would have been so
it would have
cool.
been boner time.
There is a standard for like Sith souls living in temples. I think you meet Darth Bane in one of the Clone Wars episodes.
That's true, yeah.
So I thought, go all in on that. Like, if that's the stand, we've seen that before. We don't really do that. We just kind of like dip our toes in it a little. But
So then she says no, she's not going to do it, and then he's going to kill her? What is the fucking plan here?
I definitely think someone, if someone clones him again, the first thing they should say is like, hey man, just forget about apprentices. That's where you go wrong every time.
Yeah.
You seem to have this shit pretty well together until the apprentice gets involved.
also, he does die, but she doesn't get possessed. And is it because he dies by his own power?
exactly.
I think that's what
I think that's supposed to be
power,
what it is, but it's not well established. And again, everything's fucking made. Like, to me, when the Emperor's like explaining his plan and what's going on, it sounds like when a kid is trying to explain the rules of a game and like why he didn't get hit by the sword when you hit him with it. Like, it was just like absolute. And I understand, again, I'm watching a movie about space wizards in the past with laser swords, and it was fucking nonsense.
See, this is my other... We're getting to the ending, so this is where I also believe...
We skipped all of the middle, just to be clear. There was a middle bit.
I mean, Well, I mean, is there anything to cover in the middle?
I mean,
No.
to me,
They go on a desert planet.
Yeah.
they go to a desert planet like
We
they
talked about
always do.
Chewie getting
Clone
pulled.
troopers can jetpack now.
I like that criminal planet. That was a cool
that was
location.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. That was like, again, that was somewhere between deserted and city everywhere, which they haven't done.
Yeah,
a lot
so
of.
so to me, we're talking about the should Chewie have died kind of thing. I think from a character standpoint, that would have made it more interesting when they're on that planet and when the dreadnought or whatever, Kylo's ship, whatever comes down there. Because then if she's like even sensing that Kylo's there, sensing that whatever she needs to get up to the ship for is there, she'll sense that in herself. She'll sense that that single-minded drive that's like not considering all of her other people. It's kind of like her Sith drive, whatever. She'd feel that, and then like in the back of her mind be like, oh no, but the last time I followed through with this, Chewie died.
Right.
Yeah.
And there would be like more of a conflict there and be something to develop. But instead it was like, oh, I sense Chewie, he's alive, everything's fine. There's no consequences to anything.
It's a little ridiculous, like that desert scene, because Finn is literally looking at the ship when they board.
Oh,
Chewie,
for sure.
Then all of a sudden he doesn't know which ship's
Right,
which.
for sure.
Yeah.
And, like, that's the thing. For Rey, it makes sense because she's not looking. She's not paying attention. She just sees the ship, takes it down, whatever. But everyone else should have fucking seen that.
I know.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I mean, it's funny because
I keep looking to you to defend it, and you didn't even like this movie.
I think during the old expanded universe, Lucas's only like rule to those guys is they couldn't kill Luke, Han, or Leia. Like those guys had to be around in case he decided to do more. I bet Disney's rule is you can't kill Chewie, R2, or BB-8. Because those are the guys who can be around.
R2, man, is like not a character in this entire trilogy.
Considering that he's the real hero of the first 6, that is, I agree, that's bullshit.
It's so weird.
I will say there's a badass on the desert planet scene with Rey, and I also called this on the podcast, does some flips.
Yeah.
But in like a 30-second span, she's flipping over Kylo Ren's Star Destroyer and cutting off a wing. Then she's bringing physically down a ship from midair.
Which also looked ridiculous to me.
And then she's spitting lightning out of her hands. I'm like, oh, so she's OP all the way now. You know what I mean? She's just like the most powerful of anything. And then she heals a worm.
Yeah, there was definitely some, I feel like for all the shit we give Lucas for going buck wild with the prequels, even with adding the flippy lightsaber things, I still feel like he kept the Force things relatively in check. And JJ's just like, let's go all out with it because that's what people want. People want to see ships dragged down. But the problem is for me, like once you expand the Force powers to like just slightly outside of like human capacity, like what like the strength of a normal human would be, then like it gets really hard to get the stakes again. Like it gets fucking ridiculous.
Exactly. I like that scene, but
I love that scene.
Yeah.
I like that scene is maybe my favorite scene. In the
I like the lightning thing. I just don't wish it wasn't a fucking ship.
I like her cutting the wing off the tie. Like,
that's pretty cool. I really love the. Did you have more to say on the desert
it's
one?
Fine. Go ahead.
I love the lightsaber scene in by the Death Star because we talked about you wanted some more Force flips. I think in general there weren't that many Force flips, but I feel like that battle did a really good job of expressing like advantage, like who's in power in this exchange, and it changes hands several times. I feel like that is done better in that sequence, even though it has less really acrobatic shit than like the Mustafar scene.
Because that's what it was. It was their Mustafar.
It was absolutely
homage,
their Mustafar.
Dude, it sucks that Adam Driver wants to be a real actor because he should be. He is such a good physical actor.
Yeah.
He should be like, they should be rebooting Die Hard with him. Like, he should be the action star.
I mean, he's clearly not afraid to do, big budget studio bullshit.
But I think he, like, is going in this, like, Ewan McGregor thought he was going into and didn't. He's like, I'm going to do these 3 and then I'll never do anything like this again.
What about the lightsaber fight where they're in 2 separate areas? I don't know if that entirely worked for me.
I like that bit because I think it continues the best thing that Rian Johnson did, which is establish how these two are connected.
Yeah,
right.
I think
they can do new things with the Force specifically because they're connected.
Is that a Force power or just something they can do?
The dyad thing is a thing that's existed, like, in kind of extra stuff, and we've never really seen it on screen because the twin sons thing on Tatooine, like that twin sons is representative throughout all of Star Wars all the time. And this is why I say JJ, I don't know, always gets it all the way. Because you include the dyad, you include the continuation that the connection these two have. But like at the end, it shouldn't be one of them looking at dual suns. It should be the dual sons looking at the dual suns.
Right.
I don't think he follows through necessarily on what those bits represent, but they're cool ass scenes, and I'm glad he at least continued it. to an extent.
Do you guys think Kylo should have lived?
Yes, 100%.
I would have liked that.
I mean, I'm not unhappy with how it played out, but I would have been more interested.
He's just such an interesting character. Like, I'd love to see where he goes next. You know, like even if it was books or anything.
And specifically the fact that he's kind of irredeemable makes him wanting to be a good guy now more interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
See, that's the issue is. So if we're talking about a 9-episode saga and it's told in multiple acts, like Anakin got a redemption, but it's not true redemption. He doesn't get to live a life that he doesn't deserve.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so his lineage should get to live the life that he doesn't deserve.
Right.
Which is be with his Padme.
Right.
And you took that away from him. So really Anakin still isn't fully redeemed
Well, I want
by
to
the end of this.
I want to talk about that because I feel like from a narrative structure, I see what you're going for with the Anakin, Padme, Rey, Kylo kind of thing. But how did you guys feel about that kiss?
I thought they were great in that scene.
I think I had said going into this, I would be happy if we got through this entire trilogy with zero romance.
Sure.
Since we'd gotten through 2/3 of it like that, really, anyway.
Sure.
But if any two characters were going to kiss, I was glad it was those two.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought for no talking, I think I like Adam Driver.
That's so fascinating. I felt like our whole theater that I was watching it with saw them like a foot apart looking at each other and we're like, no. and then it happened and there was just dead silence. Like there was no clapping or wooing, fucking nothing.
The moment they like looked at each other and she passes him the saber through it or whatever, I don't know how you get anywhere after that bit that doesn't end with them making out. Because, God, it looks like they love each other in that scene.
But you see, that's where I feel like it's more of a Luke and Leia. Like, I feel like it's more of a platonic, respectful connection than a romantic connection. But
I do wish Adam Driver had some lines there, because he doesn't have any Ben Solo lines.
I do really love him just, like, scrambling down to the bottom of the fucking thing, however he can when he lands on the Sith planet. Yeah, I fucking love that. I think that's great.
Yeah.
We haven't mentioned what is most people's favorite scene in the movies, which, do you guys think that Han Solo was real, as in a Force ghost, or do you think it was just...
He better not be.
I think he was just something that Ben was imagining.
Because, again, if JJ fucking did anything with anything that has existed in the Star Wars universe, like, that's a skill that was taught, that was passed down by people who learned it and passed it to other people that they want to learn it. It's not just like, I get the whole Han might have been Force sensitive thing, but that doesn't mean he's a fucking Force ghost,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I would say the only reason that I would say it could be possible is maybe Luke as a Force ghost pulled Han out of the ether. But I'm just wildly speculating.
Within this movie with all the ridiculous shit it does, sure.
I think that's...
I think it was just a figment of his imagination.
Yeah, that's what I think.
I like that scene a lot.
do
So
too.
what I'm about to say sounds weird. It should have been Anakin Skywalker.
Oh, no. It absolutely should have been
Ben
Anakin Skywalker.
is obsessed with his grandfather.
Yes.
The fact that there's no communication between the two of them, or the fact that Anakin does speak in this movie and not to Ben, is insane.
It is insane.
I'll one up you better. It should have been both of them.
Yeah, probably.
It should have been, because that's the moment when he decides to be Ben Solo. There should have been a struggle.
And I think it's his imagination, because he doesn't have the Force ghost color. Like, he was like real Harrison
Yeah,
Ford.
he was just. Yeah, that's true. He was just a dude. That's
Yeah.
You solved tell that to the internet, and you solved it.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, so one of the things that when I talk about that I liked the story arc, not necessarily the mechanics. I feel like, we talk about the dyad, the Kylo Ren, the Rey thing that I think is done well. Is that I feel like the whole point of Ben's thing is they're both searching for identity. Ben's whole thing is he's kind of denying parts of his own identity in order to, whatever the fuck he's doing. And so the resolution of this movie, the thing at the end, is that he accepts that who he is and, the family he's a part of and all the influences on him, all this kind of stuff. For Rey, it's the opposite, which, again, I'm not sure I love the Palpatine thing, but it kind of fits as a direct foil in that she is something, theoretically inherent. She comes from evil, but that doesn't necessarily mean that she is evil. And so in searching for identity, it's kind of like accepting an identity of myself and not necessarily accepting my identity as it associates with like my family and my lineage. And I think that's a good like dichotomy. But I feel like, and this trickles back into my romance thing, I feel like Rey and Kylo's whole connection thing is about the fact that they both are searching for their identity.
Agreed.
And that's like their big connection with each other. And to me, the reason I like the whole Finn Rey thing is because Finn has always seen her the way that she ends up seeing herself at the end of this movie. And like I think that's why I like that connection better, is because he sees the good in her as she is without any, like whatever bullshit it is. Whereas Kylo's also like, you need to like, I don't know, you need to find yourself. We're both searching for this thing. And that's why I feel like it should have, I think that would have been a more satisfying romance.
I think that is a very interesting love trilogy that they should have played out over 3 movies.
Yeah. I think the issue, I agree completely with what you're saying, especially post Rise of Skywalker now. I think leading up to it, their connective tissue, searching for family status, is both of them accepting who they are, even though they don't like it. So her accepting, I'm nobody, even though that's not what she wants to be, and him accepting that he is Leia Organa Solo and Han Solo's son, and even though he doesn't like it, is the thing that brings them together and is the connective tissue. But when you kind of change her motivation a little bit, and by making her a Palpatine and then coming to terms with the fact that she's the descendant of evil, I don't think it works as well. But I feel like the groundwork was there to do it, but since they don't follow through with that, I agree it doesn't quite land like it should.
So, what was the fan service thing you liked the most, and what was the one that made your geeky little heart groan?
Wedge, easily being the one I like the most.
Yeah.
Wedge is probably top 5 Star Wars character for me.
See, I mean, I don't know the Star Wars as well as you guys. I just know the movies, and I like seeing Lando. Just seeing Lando, again, and you could tell right away he had a cane, and he's looking old. I'm glad they got this one on film.
Yeah, also, I thought Billy D was pretty good in it.
Billy D was pretty good at it. That's the thing. Lando might have been my least favorite just because he was, like, putting him back in it. And that's the thing. I think Billy D. Williams should be in it.
Yeah.
But he
would have been better in Last Jedi as Benicio del Toro.
Well, right, but I mean, maybe. But he's just throwing back, like, the antithesis of the let the past die, which whatever, I get your point, but I feel like he was representative of the wrong direction this movie was going, that I wanted it to go a different direction. I don't know what my favorite fan servicey moment was.
My grown one is Rey being a Palpatine. I just feel like that's not necessary.
I don't really think that was fan service though, because that was the story.
No, that is fan service.
I mean, if you don't like that story, it's not like a little thing you threw in there, just somebody. But it's not. Hey, I know that thing.
It doesn't affect the story. What changes by Rey not? You don't have that horrible line of dialogue, which is Palpatine is your grandfather. Like that whole bit, that exchange is terrible.
Because realistically, again, based on the movie's own logic, Palpatine doesn't express that the fact that she will inherit all those things is based on the fact that he's her granddaughter. It's because she's evil and she's going to kill him with hatred in her heart.
Yeah.
So it doesn't change anything.
I would say the fan service I'm thinking about is her getting off the ground, her Rocky moment with all the Jedi whispering in her, and they've got,
that shit, I love that.
Yeah, that was.
I like that was my favorite also.
That was the thing. I wanted to see those people. Like,
agreed. But I even liked hearing Hayden Christensen in there.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, yep.
It was maybe the best acting Hayden Christensen has done.
I think it was young Obi-Wan and old Obi-Wan.
What I didn't like about that part was JJ being like, if you like Ahsoka, you'll like this movie. And then if you're an Ahsoka fan, being like, oh, cool, so she's dead.
Right.
Wish I knew how that happened.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. That was the cameo, because she said she was in there, and it's only her voice, and she has to be dead.
That's bullshit.
Also, Master and Dooley, like, why is she in there? Why? What? She was in like 10 episodes of Clone Wars.
Right. Maybe just to, keep it from being such a sausage party.
Yeah, 100%.
Because there's only one other girl there.
For sure.
I didn't love...
Speaking of, we introduced girlfriends for Finn and Poe.
I love Kerry Russell, so that worked for me.
I really am on board with she did not show her face, too.
Yeah.
Though, can you imagine if Oscar Isaac, as Poe Dameron, looked you in the face and said, "Can I kiss you?" and you said no?
Right.
Like, if he'd looked at me and was like, it's not really the way I go, but I'll give it a shot.
Also, let's just based on that, when they make a Metroid movie, make her Samus Aran. Because that's who she played.
Yeah. She's good. Have you even watched The Americans? It's so good.
Yeah.
She plays a Russian spy.
What did you guys think of Dominic Monaghan?
Right?
It was jarring to me.
Because he was just him.
He was Charlie.
I only think of him as Charlie forever.
Why in the world would you put Dominic Monaghan in the middle of a jungle, give him a buzz cut, and 5 o'clock shadow? He's just Charlie at that point.
No joke. You're not wrong.
Yeah, it was like, you know what? I'm sad we killed off that guy in season 3. Let's put him in the movie.
Gosh.
I liked him being the spy. I thought that was a joke that worked.
You talking about Hux?
Oh yeah, no, sorry, I'm thinking Hux. Yeah,
Donald Gleason.
Yeah.
I do feel like he got a bit of a bullshit ending played for a joke. For a dude who was like literally, space Hitler.
He was space Hitler.
He was space Hitler in the first one. He gets off pretty...
I do think they didn't need to introduce the other guy. They could
Richard Grant.
I will say, how is Richard E. Grant not in one of these movies already?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
An imperial
He
officer.
is the most imperial officer-looking dude ever.
I still think he should have been Thrawn. That character should have been Thrawn, and Richard E. Grant would have been a good Thrawn.
Yeah.
He would have been a good
He
Thrawn.
would have been a great Thrawn.
Yeah.
Not enough fan service, JJ.
My main fan service thing that drove me nuts, and it's probably just because it's the patient zero, I believe, of dudes complaining about movies on the internet. I fucking hated when Chewie got the medal. Yeah, because that's where it all began. It all began when two geeks met in a chat room and said to one another, "Hey, how come Chewie didn't get a medal and the people did?" And, JJ just fixed that one, and it just kind of made me go. Because where did it come? At first, I didn't even recognize what it was. I was like, is that chocolate? does Chewie like chocolate? And, I'm glad Chewie got a medal. Like, divorcing myself from this side of third world, he finally got a medal. Good for him. And it looks like he has a couple options of getting space laid there. So that's good. But
Space laid.
I think it's still just laid.
But that was the one that most felt like if, a year from now they make Star Wars starring the Wayans brothers, that would be like a scene from that. You know what I'm saying?
I hadn't made that connection, but you're right. That's 100% the original fanboy complaint that you tried to answer. What did you guys think of the ending? Like the very, very end with her on Tatooine?
It's hard for me to speak objectively about that because I don't know if you guys know this about me, but literally my first memory on Earth is Luke looking at the two suns.
Yeah.
So that got I
have a huge problem with it. What the fuck does Leia have to do with Tatooine? Why are we going there to bury Leia's saber in the sand?
So I have an issue with it as well, and that goes along with my issue.
Yeah.
So she buries two sabers, right? Do we remember which sabers she buries?
Luke and Leia.
Luke and Leia's, right? Anakin's gets tossed in the ocean or something like the Legacy saber does. So I will agree my complaint is not specifically Anakin's saber. But, if you will, his children's saber gets buried in what represents in Star Wars as slavery.
Also, he's on record as saying he hates sand.
Yeah. Tatooine is, one, Anakin was literally born as a slave there.
Right.
Two, it's where he became a slave to the dark side when he commits murder for the first time. Luke is essentially a slave to being poor.
Right.
It literally represents being chained to something. And what we're saying is, no matter what, you're always going to end up in the place that got you down.
Right.
Damn, you know what? I hadn't put that much thought into it, but you make some very solid points there.
That's what I'm saying. He doesn't like Anakin Skywalker because I don't understand how you could go back to Tatooine and be like, we're going to permanently bury you in the thing that you can't ever escape.
Yeah.
Also, that should have been all the Jedis at the end. It shouldn't have just been
why is
Luke and
Ben
Leia.
not there?
Yeah, also, why is...
I
should have been there.
Okay, I can see why Ben isn't there if it's just Luke and Leia. Because that subtly implies maybe he's their kid. Maybe they did continue with the sister-brother fucking. But, if it's the three of them, it makes them look like they're the family. But if it's all the Jedi, including Ben, like if you see Obi-Wan there, you see Yoda there, you see Anakin there, then I think it would have made more sense.
Anakin was going to be there, but he hates sand. So he
hates
didn't show up.
Hopefully his thing would have been he got there and like, this shit again?
Yeah, right? I do like the saber at the end. I think that's it's like a twist on her staff.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's cool.
I like the color, too.
Again, but it was like, okay, let's watch that movie now.
No, for sure. It definitely feels like that.
I'm sure we will in 10 years.
I also generally... I felt like this movie had too many... And in the final... Like, the third act is a large portion of the movie.
Yeah. It's an hour, essentially.
Yeah. And I felt like there were too many, like, low points where like, the all is lost kind of moments. Because I feel like after Leia dies is kind of one of those moments. I feel like the... before the ships come and save everybody is one of those moments, and then after the fucking Emperor shoots lightning onto a whole fucking planet because he can do that now, is one of those moments. And I just felt like it was like too many endings. I feel like you could have stopped or just cut one out.
But it did feel Return of the Jedi in that, like, you had Rey and the Emperor going at it, and above them there's a fleet of ships.
Oh no, for sure it was that.
But yeah, it
JJ
was. There was
like,
a lot of.
What do they already do for this? Oh yeah, we'll just do that. It'll be fine.
This morning I watched Return of the Jedi again, and I had a thought that had never occurred to me to today. How fucking cool would it be if when Luke takes off the helmet, James Earl Jones would have actually been on there? That would have been so fucking cool, right?
Yeah.
Because, it's space people. A black guy could have white kids in space. We don't know.
Yeah.
I think that would have been so much
Ahead
cooler.
of its time.
Yeah. It could have changed history, literally.
Yeah.
It could have been the shooting baby Hitler of our generation.
I said I think Palpatine's a fan service.
Yeah.
The reason why I say that it's just fan service and doesn't really bear on the plot of this movie is, again, going back to the ending. It ends with Rey back on a desert planet lying about her lineage.
Right.
She could have still done that and been nobody.
Right.
I'm also not entirely sure how I feel, and again, I'm not just trying to bitch here.
No, please do.
But
Yeah.
on a saga built on hope and the good guys ending on a lie, it's just hard for me to accept that.
You know what though? I hadn't thought of that, but you're right. Her being nobody and saying at the end, I choose to be a Skywalker, is exactly the same as her being Palpatine and saying, I choose to be a Skywalker. So I agree on that. It might have even worked better if she was nobody.
Yeah.
I think all people are going to be called Skywalkers going forward, though. That's like
Everyone's last
anyone
name.
with Force. You know what I mean? I think
I
they're
don't
going to go.
I don't think
go-
that's. I don't think that they established that. I think
I
that would
agree.
be a cool direction to
Yeah.
go, but I don't think they do that.
I think that was implied, but
I don't
think they
agree.
establish it though. No.
Yeah, I don't think it's implied. I think it's what we all thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Because it felt like that's where the story was heading,
Yeah.
and then what the information we had.
What did you guys think of Leia? Because I had, like I said, when I want to talk about Last Jedi, but I really think JJ they should have kept Mark Hamill alive and killed off Leia at the end of 2. Last Jedi, because like her scenes are just one word shots. Like you can very much tell that she's not alive. And they rewrote the script to get her these one sentences.
It very much. I think when they cast what's his name?
Monahan or Dominic on.
Right.
Yeah.
And they cast him like, okay, you're going to be in this movie. What you're going to do is you're going to respond lines of dialogue that we have to write around a dead person, things they've already said.
Him and the
That's
other
a
dude.
Weird part.
Him and the other dude from Lost.
Yeah.
Those are their only 2 roles. I don't really agree because I think Rey and Luke are so closely tied together, and that Leia and Ben are so closely tied together that you had to get to the moment where she dies to save Ben.
Yeah. I love that scene, by the way.
I think that's fantastic. I think it's just unfortunate that she's dead and you couldn't get to
there would have been a great part
the way
there.
you want.
Because I like her as the master on the jungle planet. Like all that really was cool.
That call where he just slowly turns around and slams. That shit got me. I love that shit. Also, I don't feel like I appreciated how silly Kylo Ren's fucking outfit was until they put a hole through that vest. It's like, oh, this is a really goofy thing that you're wearing.
Yeah.
Do we have anything else?
What about the Force power healing? I know that the Mandalorian.
It's
I mean,
fine.
they literally released that episode
it
of
credence.
Mandalorian earlier to establish.
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of like that they specifically established for that, it has consequences. Like, I'm giving my life force to you.
Yeah.
And so in that way, I kind of like that essentially Rey's just giving Adam Driver a loan, you know?
Yeah.
I also think it's interesting. A part of this movie, I think in a lot of ways, is JJ retconning or maybe being, I don't want to use the term coward, but I feel like he's afraid of some choices that he made, that Ryan made, that even George Lucas has made. And so he tries to come up with a justification for them. And so in Force Awakens, everyone critiques that Ben does the mind trick on Rey, and then she turns around and immediately does it on the Stormtroopers. He does the exact same thing here with the healing powers, which is she does it to him, and he immediately now learns how to do it and is able to do it to her.
Yeah.
And I think it's good. Like, I think that's I don't have that complaint about Force Awakens and the thing, but I know a lot of people do. And so JJ's trying to make it right, which is like, oh, when you experience something,
I mean, I'm also okay.
force
I'm also okay with it from the point of view of one, we've established they're connected, and two,
Agreed.
we've established they're the most prodigious Force users outside of apparently the Emperor.
I just think he's introducing a lot of new stuff because then the Emperor starts sucking in Rey. Like, what is that? Is that the reverse?
We introduced 2 new characters in the last part. One of them in the last third of the movie.
Yes.
Again,
That part's confusing.
Again, mechanically, it's absolute nonsense. A lot of the plot of this movie of like how we get from point A to point B is Rey's just, I've had a vision and I have to go somewhere and do something, and that's it.
Yeah.
You know, also on Return of the Jedi, I watched some clip online this week after having watched it, which was people in line waiting to go see Return of the Jedi. Didn't any of you guys?
No.
Because it was kind of going around, and it was just so different than now. Like, it was just people literally talking about, I think Luke's going to kick Darth Vader's ass. Nah, man, Darth Vader's my man. He's going to win. Like, there was nobody who was like, well, you know, I heard Richard Marquand really wasn't handling it, so Lucas really directed this movie. Like, nobody was saying shit like that. And even though I guess this kind of thing is why we do this,
It is.
here we do, it is sad we'll never experience a movie like that again.
That's fair.
No one will. It's not just a lost childhood thing. It's a lost part of society.
Yeah, that's true. The internet's ruined that.
Too much information at your fingertips.
Yeah. I mean that's it. I if I had to summarize this movie, I think it misses out on what the purpose of all 9 films are. I know everyone has the complaint about Last Jedi. I feel it more with Last Jedi. I feel the connective tissue with Last Jedi more than I do this film, and that's okay. You know,
I think I would be a hypocrite not to love it just because I'm always saying, I just want a Star Wars movie to do Star Wars shit. And it's like he listened to exactly me. And it's like, okay, here's 2.5 hours of just Star Wars shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you make a solid point. I feel like evaluating it's impossible, but to evaluate the trilogy outside of the whole 9, I think it's fine. But I think as like if it's supposed to be tagging into the other 6. I also agree that I feel like it misses the point.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, like I said, it's my best description. It's like a girl that seems pretty from really far away, but then you get up close and you see some imperfections.
And then she dies. You see this pretty girl from far away, and then she dies in the first scene in The Last Jedi, and you hate the movie. is what happens. Yeah, my advice is Ian shouldn't watch this movie. Like you should watch it these 2 times and never, because you have a habit of ruining movies for yourself.
But I do. I think it's fun.
I like that you like it.
I'm on board with it.
Yeah, exactly. I stand by. I put this on Facebook. I stand by it. I want people to like it. I want people to go see it. I want people to, the reaction to Last Jedi was just freaking annoying, and I don't want another Star Wars movie to ever have that again.
Right.
So.
I just want it to be fun space shit. And this was fun
space
shit.
It plays it fast and safe, but it's fun. That's what I wanted.
We're going to find out when we talk to people at Pensacon.
Yeah.
We said we were going to talk about this in the beginning, and it seems like a weird thing to end on, but how did it do financially?
So it made 375 worldwide, which I think is a little lower. I think they wanted like 450.
Yeah, I think they were shooting for 450.
So, but it made a fuck ton.
That's still a lot of money.
It made 195 million in the U.S. So it made nothing.
I know
does
that
that.
my theater was busy, but not the theater I saw it in was busy, but not crazy. But you said at your theater in the life was fucking crazy.
Yeah, we were selling out all the restaurants. I mean, it was raining, so it's hard for me to see. I got to see when it gets sunny because we're very weather driven. So I don't know if it was.
Christmas is also right around the corner, which will be a big.
It's going to make a lot of money.
It's going to be fun.
I mean, it's not going to have competition. Cats bombed, and the target audience for this and Little Women are different.
Yes.
So
and 1917.
Hey, in the life, have you gotten the re-edited Cats yet?
It's coming through.
Yeah, that's so fucking crazy.
Yeah,
they re-edited Cats.
Yeah,
they put a new version with better visual effects.
Yeah,
I guess the director said he literally finished the movie like a week before it premiered. So that thing,
I heard rumor that he had finished it the day of the premiere.
Yeah, like right before. Yeah.
God damn, we need to go see this movie. I'm so excited about it.
Should we do a Cats episode?
There's no time.
Exactly. But is that it? We good with the Rise of Skywalker?
I'm sure we'll have more feelings.
Oh yeah,
in the future.
we're gonna relitigate this again.
We all liked it to varying degrees.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I would say that's
I don't
fair.
think it'll be as divisive as Last Jedi for us, but we'll talk about it a lot.
I'm just more mature than you are about it, so
I just think we're more fatigued after Last Jedi. I don't feel the same amount
Actually, one more thing. Where do you think they go from here?
I mean,
of course, we're going to talk about one of the things they're going.
It's weird.
right after. This,
It's weird to me that Kathleen Kennedy has come out to say that they want to do more one-offs and less sagas going forward. Because I think the saga is a big reason of why people are drawn to it. It's like this. It's like the Marvel universe, which is this continuous story where you already know the characters and you want to know what happens to them next.
I tell you one thing again. I just thought of this week. It's so weird that with the saga they were like, directors, here you go, do over what the fuck you want. But with the standalones, they like super micromanaged and like fired multiple directors and shit. It seems like those should have been the other way. And I feel like if they go forward, that's what they should do. If you're going to give a director a chance to shine, let him do a standalone thing. If you're gonna make something that continues the ongoing story, have a plan.
Yeah, they didn't have a plan for sure. It's I think they're going to go backwards. So they're going to go way in the past, and I think they're going to show like Knights of the Old Republic or...
That's what I want to see, but I feel like they're so hesitant to do... I would say
or
Mandalorian...
the Origins of the Jedi. I think they're going to go way in the past, like way back.
Mandalorian and Last Jedi are probably the only two, and I mean, you've made 5, so that's not a ton amount, but that really embrace things before A New Hope.
Yeah.
So... Before, I would say, yeah, definitely we're going to go backwards. But I don't know that the company, the studio, Lucasfilm, somebody is very afraid to go.
I think they're going to go movies go before, and then comic books are going to switch to post-Rey Finn adventures.
See, I think if they wanted to do anything to build up some goodwill, a Clone Wars style animated series, but sit right after Jedi, like having the characters.
They have one of those. It's not Clone Wars. It's Resistance.
But no, that's it.
Force Awakens.
But it's still... I mean, I'm saying something where you can still have Luke, Leia, Han having adventures and a good time.
Because I'm telling you, the training scene of Leia with Luke, that looked pretty good.
Yeah, that did look...
I mean, it was dark, which helped.
I don't know. I didn't think it looked great on my screen, but...
Maybe it was just I like seeing Leia again.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
That was fan service. Talking about fan service. And did that make sense?
I like that, sir.
Leia says... I know my son's going to bring about that. Like, it feels like she predicted all this was going to happen.
Actually, yeah, no, the Leia saber might be my least favorite thing. That might be my least favorite fan service bit. But
that's something.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, Star Wars, the chapter closes. Allegedly. So, what have we been watching, guys? Spoiler alert, I know it's more Star Wars.
Yeah, mostly Star Wars. Mandalorian. I think we all are all caught up on Mandalorian.
That was a cool episode.
Dude, that's the best episode of the series so far to me.
I mean, to be fair, you guys still haven't watched Rick and Morty for this season,
correct?
Right?
Yeah,
I'm caught up now.
Oh, you are? Okay. Yeah. I do feel like there's an episode of Rick and Morty that kind of ruined heist movies for me.
Right.
So like the whole getting the team together is like feels a bit less fun than it used to.
Yeah, cliche.
Yeah, thanks, Dan Harmon.
It's like listening to the Eagles the day after watching The Big Lebowski. But like it's it very much. I don't know if the heist thing would have annoyed me if I hadn't just watched that.
Absolutely. Yeah. But getting Gina Carano, Nick Nolte, and fucking Werner Herzog back made oh god, I love that guy.
Yeah.
I can't even do his accent, but he's like asking if you want a libation. It's like, oh, it's the best.
I think Nick Nolte's the best. I love Nick Nolte.
Nick Nolte was really
god,
good.
It was sad.
Oh, it was sad.
Yeah.
It was fucking sad.
It was.
But god, that TIE fighter is dope as shit, man.
And fucking seeing those speeder bikes really hauling ass. Like
it's
2
cool
episodes, I realized, man, at some point, him and Baby Yoda have to get separated, and that's going to be rough. And it happened, and that shit was rough.
Yeah, it was hard to see Baby Yoda get taken. Yeah.
So there's supposed to be one more episode or left,
correct?
Right? So
the
next one, this one felt very much like a setup for a big finale.
Penultimate.
I like Gus Fring being like, that was cool as a big bad kind of thing.
What's his name again?
Giancarlo. You're right.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay.
I liked that. He's an Imperial, but I like that we got another Moff that we don't know about. I like high-ranking Imperial dudes.
Right.
If there's any complaint that I really have about the First Order is there's no real carryover from the Empire into these things.
See, I thought that was going to be Richard E. Grant for sure.
Yeah.
And it wasn't.
That would have made sense.
Here's the problem with a lot of that is a lot of that shit is happening in the comics. So like Hux's dad, or the books as well.
Yeah.
Like Richard E. Grant's character is best friends with Hux's dad, who's literally the person that initiates the First Order. You don't get that at all in the movies.
No.
Or did you guys know that Ben is not the person who killed the Padawans? Ben escaped what happened to the Padawans.
Really?
Yes.
That is not what's implied in the movies.
Correct. But the comic books are telling you a different story.
I also said that they tell you the Knights of Ren, and there's actually a Ren, and they're like...
Correct.
Yeah.
When he escapes, he basically comes in.
I didn't like what I was reading about it, so I was like, I'm not going to read this. This isn't canon.
This is accidentally going back, but the Knights of Ren, I feel like were a better thing on a character art storyboard thing than they were in actual practice.
Yeah. Yes. Man, JJ loves mystery boxes. This movie had a ton of them.
These movies had a bunch of storyboards that make no sense really once you flesh them out.
But Mandalorian was good.
Mandalorian's good. I'm really excited about the finale.
I am too. You know, the only other thing I really watched this week, I finished Watchmen, which I'm excited for us to talk about at some point.
I am too.
God, that show was bonkers.
Yep.
I, thanks to Jehu, read like 75% of Doomsday Clock, and don't think it's as good as Watchmen. The other thing is, after I watched Rise of Skywalker, I wasn't a huge fan, so I wanted to watch something that I was a huge fan of, and while I've been watching Clone Wars, I binged a fuck ton of Clone Wars this week.
Right on.
And God, I love that show so much. That's it.
I know that show's the best.
Yeah.
I mean,
it gets me so excited for like February or March when the new season comes out.
Sure.
Because God, I can't wait to see where that's going.
I just feel like Dave Filoni gets Star Wars.
He does. Yeah.
If we were not just ranking the movies, but ranking all the Star Wars properties, I might rank Clone Wars as number one.
Man, it would be really hard for me to not put Clone Wars and Rebels near the top.
Yeah.
I tried to get through it. I'm still working on it.
Yep.
Only thing I watched is I watched Home Alone. I was watching Christmas movies. Home Alone is way better than Transformers. Joe Pesci's super funny in that movie, and I like Joe Pesci's wet bandit in crime. I don't know his name, but Macaulay Culkin he's pretty good in that movie. He's funny. It's a good holiday movie. I don't think I've been pretty busy working. I think that's it. So, Joseph?
No, I'm going to let Hurt go so he doesn't have to go last this week.
You know what's funny? When I got here, I was in a really bad fucking mood. And I hadn't really watched anything, so I was just going to talk about a bunch of like records I like to listen to when I'm in a bad fucking mood. But talking about Star Wars cheered me up, so I don't need to do that anymore. You know, I'll just say Slayer's Reign of Blood is really good. The Cure's Pornography is really good. You know, listen to those things the next time you want to punch yourself in the face. I'll pass it on to Jim.
That's fair. Well, I feel like we all have been so Star Wars centric. I don't have a lot either. I've still been watching Schitt's Creek, almost finished with season 2. Again, same kind of thing. I feel like it should be funnier than it is, but the characters are really endearing.
Yeah.
And so I enjoy watching it.
It's like laugh, not like laugh out loud laugh.
Moira's great. I mean,
Moira's great.
I know David is kind of like the scene stealer, but Moira's fantastic.
Well, she's the most committed to just being that person.
Yes,
you know?
I really love it.
Yeah.
And the only other thing I wanted to mention is a friend of this podcast did our artwork. Zach Evans has had a secret podcast that I didn't know about for it seems like a while now, called Broke Box Office, which is where he and his brother review things that you can watch for free online. And check it out if that's your sort of thing.
All right,
they're both very knowledgeable guys, and they're fun to listen to.
That's actually a useful podcast, because whenever I like try to Google something of like, where can I watch this from free? It's just I'll click on it and it's just all sites with all ads.
Yeah,
it never gives me any information.
At least from what I can tell, most of the things that you can watch for free are free for a reason.
Right.
but
Well, that a friend of mine once described all the things that are on Netflix are usually the shit you can find in a bin at Big Lots.
Yeah.
So it's,
I love that none of us watched The Witcher.
Oh, I forgot to tell you, I watched the first 20 minutes of The Witcher. For exactly that reason. And one, they've already made this series with Castlevania. It's the same.
Right.
Yeah.
And two, it's just one of those things where and it could get better. I don't know, because I only watched 20 minutes and it's like, this is enough. But
that's not a good sign.
Yeah. Like, I get fantasy as a whole gets a bad rap for being like specifically for your dirty guy in a basement who's scared and angry at women for existing, who just wants women to like him and wants to have more power and influence and whatever. And so like, I don't feel like Lord of the Rings is really that way, but definitely a lot of fantasy things, definitely a lot of fantasy video games lean that direction.
Right.
So far, this series is exactly that. Like, it's that power fantasy all over again. And again, I think, what's his fucking name? Henry Cavill is a bore as a human being, but definitely has like a charismatic screen presence.
Right.
I really like him in the Mission Impossible. He is a fucking bore in this.
I'd seen the picture online of him in the bath with his titties out, and I feel like I saw what I needed to see.
Yeah, so
it feels like Game of Thrones light. I don't think I'm going to watch it.
That's the thing. Like Game of Thrones doesn't play into that. I don't think though. The Game of Thrones has a much more like the characters are much more fleshed out. That it's
no, I agree. I think it's like just looking at like stills. I know nothing about it. That's what it appears.
To me, it just feels like everything that people make fun of fantasy about, and it's the worst bit of that.
Yep.
But if somebody else has watched it and feels differently, let me know. Let me know when it gets better. I'm willing to give it a shot, just because I like Henry Cavill. But no, it's not good. But I think that's it. Are we good for this week?
I think we're good.
All right.
The only thing I wanted to say is we had one person tell us their Star Wars rankings on Twitter.
That's right. Yeah. So did he clarify which direction?
He did. Okay. So Rafe, he's tweeted at us a ton of times, big friend of the show, has his own podcast called Graveyard Gamer. His Star Wars rankings, and look, I'll be honest, it's going to be controversial for us.
I want to be clear. It's controversial because he didn't specify if he was going top to bottom or bottom to top.
Either way.
Either way is fucking controversial.
I don't want to specify.
Before we even hear this, almost every ranking I've seen since this happened has been driving me nuts because anybody's ranking who isn't original top three is fucking bananas.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So his ranking is, and again, I'm not going to tell you which direction. Rogue One, Solo, 3, 7, 5, 2, 4, 6, 8, 1. Which order?
That is an insane. He's worse the best.
It could have been either way, though.
Yeah, but
that's what's right.
None of it lines up with my thoughts.
That's best to worst.
That's best to worst.
What? No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Oh, man.
Wow. Rogue One, number one?
Rogue One and Solo, back to back, bro.
Rafe, you're a fucking wild man.
Hold on. That is like Last Jedi.
Yes, he put Last Jedi towards the bottom.
Yeah.
But
that's so far from...
two of your least favorite were 1 and 2 for him.
That is controversial.
And our second least favorite is number 1.
That's so far from not only my opinion on Star Wars, but just my belief system in life that I can't even argue against it.
I believe that shows that's how Star Wars is right now. It's so divisive amongst each individual right now.
How did Star Wars
I will say this,
that?
In Rafe's defense, Rafe is not a huge Star Wars fan. He really is an impartial judge. I think when I first met him, I'm sure he had seen Star Wars, but like he was like, I don't really care.
You know what? If you're viewing them just as action movies,
it's possible.
I could see the.
I could see that ranking kind of. Yeah,
because definitely 1 and 8 have the least amount of action.
Yeah,
and Solo and Rogue One probably do have the most.
Right.
Yeah, 100%. I think everyone has a different opinion on Star Wars, which is great. That's why we do these things.
Oh yeah, now I remember. I remember what was irritating me as this movie was coming out. You talked about the reviewers relitigating Last Jedi in the reviews. My problem is just every single review, and we stole this podcast from the Weekly Planet. Spoiler alert! If you make it this far into listening,
right.
And their rating system from the very beginning has always been every movie is either the best movie ever or the worst movie ever. And they started this podcast in like 2013, 2014 because they knew there's like no subtlety in arguing on the internet.
Right.
And I felt like that was kind of true when they did it, but like, just kind of like the headline grabbing. It's absolutely true now. Right. You cannot write an article where it's not the best movie that's ever been made or the worst movie that's ever been made.
Particularly your opinion on Last Jedi. Last Jedi's become such a thing about your politics that if you just say, I kind of liked that movie, fuck you.
Yeah. It's wild out there.
Yeah. I mean, definitely my least favorite thing, the main thing was like, nope, I'm turning off the internet, is when somebody said, Rise of Skywalker is J.J. Abrams letting the trolls win. It's like, fuck you, I hope you die on Christmas.
Yeah. But you see, they won because they got you to look at their fucking print.
That's true. I also have that to say about anyone who spoiled anything about this movie or any movie before I see it. Fuck you. I hope you die.
This is the closest I've been to not being spoiled by a movie.
I could not avoid spoilers.
So you got spoiled?
People were jumping out of fucking trees to spoil shit for me.
Okay, yeah, because I went clean. Because I think
because you saw it 2 days before.
Yeah. That's probably why.
I saw it on Friday, which is when a reasonable human should be able to expect to not be fucking spoiled. Yeah. And I got spoiled on multiple things.
So next week, I think we're going to be doing our decade review. We're going to go through some of the best genre, like some of the best movies broken up by genres from 2010 to 2019. before we get to the new year. But
I had made a list of categories, and then I realized they were all Weekly Planet categories. You can cut that part out of this, this if you want.
So join us next week for that. In the meantime, Merry Christmas to everybody out there, or whatever you're celebrating. If you want to get in touch with us, you can reach us at realphonies@gmail.com. Tell us what you thought about this movie or your Star Wars rankings, or literally anything. Tell us what you had for breakfast. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter at realphonies, and on Instagram at real_phonies. Thanks to Zach Evans for art and Brian Velasquez for our theme. We'll see you guys later.